Okay, so today we have a big chapter. Probably we will not be able to do it all. I mean, it's 25 in Leviticus. It's a long chapter and a very interesting issues. And so we will do whatever the time lets us. If you may, please mute yourself. This time you see Gershom, I remembered.
Yes, you should be able to mute us, though. You're the host.
Yeah, but I mean, if you can do it, it's less for me, but if I would do it. Okay, so Tanya and Emma, if you may, please mute yourself. And there. Okay, so last time we were talking about oh yeah, the idea of I will not go back.
There's still a background noise. There's still a lot of noise.
Can Emma? I will. יש חלק שאני יכולה לעשות מיוט? הנה. Okay. Tanya, can you mute yourself, please? I don't know why, but I can't mute you. Other I could. Okay. So I will go. Not go. I won't go over the last time. Just short, something very short that I think Adina told me on Shabbat. The idea of eye for eye, what we talked last time, the idea and the like is not for the purpose of ordering of revenge, but for the sake of doing justice. The offender will be punished to the same extent as the injury, usually while paying the money consideration at the same value to the injured party. Okay, so just to connect to this, because every time we hear eye for eye, it's like revenge. Anyway, so 25 is really, it's a big, as I said, a long and very full, very dense maybe, chapter about the year of Shabbaton, which in other places in the Bible, we have the word Shemitah, and we will talk about it, and the year of Yovel, okay? So these are really important social laws, and of course we will talk about it. But before we get into these big topics, I want you to, let's look at the very first verse, okay? I will read it this time. And the Lord spoke unto Moses in Mount Sinai, saying, וידבר אדוני אל משה בהר סיני לאמור. Okay? Now, you remember this way of this wording, and the Lord spoke unto Moses, and the Lord, we can go over the chapters, believe me, every chapter, it opens like this. Maybe you know what, maybe I can, I have to stop sharing that. Well, if you can look at number 24 and number 23, maybe one of you can look at chapter 24 and another 23 and the third one at 22, and tell me what is the first verse of the chapter. The very first verse, number 1.
The Lord spoke to Moses, saying.
Exactly. Okay, this is in number
24.
24. Okay, 23.
Yeah.
So the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, right? That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone found something else in another chapter? Okay. So what is the difference here? We have something else, a little bit different. Okay. And the Lord spoke unto Moses in Mount Sinai, saying. So the difference is that this here, the Mount Sinai, all of a sudden is mentioned. And not one time in all the Leviticus, in the beginning of the chapters, it is mentioned in Leviticus in 3 places, but in the beginning of the chapter, it isn't mentioned, okay? So let's see, for example, where else in Mount Sinai mentioned, is Mount Sinai mentioned in Leviticus? Yehuda, can you read this?
Yes.
Can you see it? You see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
What should I do? Read the.
Yeah, just read all the English parts here.
Oh, yeah. Which the Lord commanded Moses in Mount Sinai in the day that he commanded the children of Israel to present their offerings unto the Lord in the wilderness of Sinai.
Okay. So this is in chapter 7 in Leviticus, okay, but in the end of the chapter. And go on.
These are the statutes and ordinances and laws which the Lord made between him and the children of Israel in Mount Sinai by the hand of Moses.
Okay, I think we can skip this. I mean, it's all the time the end of the chapter. Okay, so why is the, first of all, maybe we have to remind ourselves that in this time, the people of Israel are still dwelling in or near Mount Sinai. And we are in Mount Sinai since Exodus chapter number 20, I think, or maybe 19. I mean, number 20 is the 10 Commandments. So they got to, they got there and they stayed there. We have 3 or together with today, 3 more chapters in Leviticus, and then we start number that this is really the walking in the desert, but they are still in Mount Sinai. So we know that. Why is the text mentioned here? Okay, and if it was mentioned every place in every one and again, every time and again in Leviticus, I would say okay. So from time to time he reminds us, but it's not like this. So just let's Yehuda, can you continue for this?
Yes. These are the commandments.
Yes.
These are the commandments which the Lord commanded Moses for the children of Israel in Mount Sinai.
Okay, and in the Exodus, yes, please read this.
The 3rd month after the children of Israel were gone forth out of the land of Egypt, the same day came they into the wilderness of Sinai.
Okay, that's and then the Israel encamped before the mount. Okay, this is in Exodus. Okay, so according to what I found about it in the commentaries, but not the Mesorati, not the traditional commentaries, but the researchers. Okay, they say that, the sages talked a lot about this because it's they have the well-known idiom of the sages, "Ma'inyan shnita lehar Sinai." Probably you have heard of it, and this comes about this. I mean, why do they talk here about Sinai when they talk about Shemitah? Okay, so what the commentaries say is that here in Mount Sinai there was the covenant with God that we got all the laws, right? This we know, right? It started from the 10 Commandments, and it went on through many other laws. Now we had another covenant, and even more than one, but but another main covenant, which was in Arvot Moav, and we will read it when we get to Deuteronomy, which is the big speech of Moses. And there also there is it's like a new covenant, and it is considered as the covenant in Arvot Moav. Arvot Moav is like Jordan of today, okay, in south of the Dead Sea, but in the east side of it, okay. This is approximately the place. So the commentaries say that the law of that are mentioned here, the Shemitah and the year of the 7th year and the 50th year, are not mentioned in the covenant in Arvot Moav. And this is why here it's mentioned the Mount Sinai to emphasize that this is a law. These are laws from the covenant in Mount Sinai. Are you with me until here?
Mhm.
Okay. So
I'm sorry, just sort of say the last part of that again.
Okay, so,
what
yeah,
about
so-
Moab?
So what the covenant, the commentaries say is that the laws that we are talking about here in chapter 25 in Leviticus were not mentioned in the covenant in Arvot Moav, in the new covenant, because the whole Deuteronomy book is actually Moshe. We can say in traditional way, we can say he repeats the Torah, but it's not exactly this. It's not that he repeats all the Torah. He repeats the main laws or different many laws that we will, when we will get there, we will do many comparisons with the other parts of the Torah, but it's not common. So this law, these laws of the Shnat Shemitah, the 7th year and the 50 years, are not mentioned there. And this is why the author wanted to emphasize that it is from Mount Sinai. Now, in the research point of view, try to think why maybe, I don't know, maybe it's in a research point of view, it means that the author of Leviticus had in front of him the book of Deuteronomy. Can you follow me? Yes, okay, because he says of course, the traditional view is that God wrote everything or dictated everything to Moses. Okay, this is the traditional, and we respect it and all that. But now I'm talking about the research of the Bible. Okay, and according to this, of course, the Torah was written by people, and even quite many, and in different periods and all that. And the fact that we read first Genesis and then Leviticus and then Numbers and all that, Exodus, and by this order doesn't mean that they were written in this order. Okay? And there is a big debate between researchers which book was before another one. The Deuteronomy was before Leviticus or not. Now, according to this, and we will not get into this because it's really, there are many different views, but according to this, as we can understand that the author of Leviticus had the book of Deuteronomy in front of him, and he said, and this means that Leviticus was written after Deuteronomy. Okay, let's just look, maybe, Jimmy, can you read this one?
When were these books? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. When were these books, Deuteronomy and Leviticus, written? Book of Deuteronomy 622, 7th century BCE, the days of Josiah.
Yeah, the king Josiah.
Okay, Book of the Priests, Leviticus, plus few parts from the other books. Later, around 500 BCE, or end of the 6th century, beginning of 5th century. In Yehuda, in the initial days of the Second Temple, until 516 BCE.
Yeah, approximately. Well, not the second temple. We know that it was in this year, the beginning of the building. So I'm just telling you a bit of the research view of all of the Bible. So if we, and another point, these books were written a lot of time after the events that are described there. Okay, many years late after that. So if we are talking roughly, really roughly, 1300 BCE, they left Egypt. Approximately, you can find all kinds of, but it's approximately this date. And then 40 years dwelling in the desert. Okay, we get to here. We have about 200 years or 250 or something like that of Judges and Shmuel and Yehoshua and all that. And then we get to 1000 and until 900 BCE, King David and King Solomon. And then King Joshua, these are his years. And the research, according to the research, the Deuteronomy was found and written approximately here, okay, in this period, on this epoch. And Leviticus and other books were written much later. So just a way of looking at what our researchers actually of the Bible are doing. Okay, any comments until here? Okay, let's move on. מה? מישהו רצה להגיד משהו? Okay, Wendy, can you read from here to 7?
Yes. Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when you come into the land which I give you, then shall the land keep a Sabbath unto the Lord. 6 years they shall sow their field, and 6 years they shall prune thy vineyard, and gather in the produce thereof. But in the 7th year shall be a Sabbath of solemn rest, for the land, a Sabbath unto the Lord. Thou shalt neither sow thy field, nor prune thy vineyard. That which groweth of itself, of thy harvest, thou shalt not reap, and the grapes of thy undressed vine thou shalt not gather. It shall be a year of solemn rest for the land. And the Sabbath produce of the land shall be for food for you, for thee and for thy servant and for thy maid, and for thy hired servant and for the settler by thy side that sojourn with you, and for thy cattle and for the beasts that are in thy land shall all the increase thereof be for food.
Okay, thank you. So we can, so here we talk about the Shabbaton, and I wrote here Shnat Shabbaton, Shabbat Shabbaton, and I wrote Shemitah in parentheses because, and this is Shabbaton of working the land, yes, okay, because we have the Yovel is something else, and Shemitah because the Shemitah is not mentioned, that this term is not mentioned here, but it's the same meaning, and we will see where it is mentioned. And also I wanted to, first of all, what this word reminds us all the time. Shabbaton, Shabta haaretz, Shabbat laAdonai. This reminds us, of course, the Shabbat, right? I mean, it's so obvious that but it is the same meaning of Shabbat, not to work on Shabbat. So see the similarity with Leviticus 23:3 when we had this the law of the Shabbat. The law of the Shabbat is in many places in the Torah, and one of them, Wendy, can you go on here?
6 days shall work be done, but on the seventh day it is a Sabbath of solemn rest, a holy convocation. You shall do no manner of work. It is the Sabbath unto the Lord in all your dwellings.
Now see the similarity with these two verses. 6 years you shall sow thy field, and 6 years that you shall prune thy vineyard and gather in the produce thereof. But in the seventh year, it's almost exactly the same as with the law of the Shabbat. Okay, so it's, now the interesting here is to see why the law is given. Look at 6 and 7. What is the meaning of 6 and 7 actually?
It means that everything that was gathered in before the seventh year can be used for the food for that Shemitah year. My question is, how did they manage to save it all? Because they didn't have the storage facilities that we have today. So therefore, if we couldn't use anything that was grown in the Shemitah year, they have to live off the years before, which reminds us a little bit of the famine in Egypt and Joseph, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't really sound like that here. It sounds the Sabbath produce. Isn't that the produce that appeared during the Shemitah year?
I agree. That's exactly how it sounds to me.
Yeah.
But it just,
I see. Maybe I didn't understand really what Wendy said. Now I see what. Yeah. Wendy, what? Gershon, can you elaborate a little bit, because you will say.
Yeah. So you can't work the land in the sense of planting in it or disturbing the land, but taking the produce from the plant during that year seems to be allowed there.
Yeah.
It's very confusing, because in verse 5, it says, you shall not reap the aftergrowth of your harvest, or gather the grapes of your untrimmed vine. But then in the next sentence, in 6, it says, you may eat whatever the land during its Sabbath will produce.
Well,
Yeah.
Yes, but yeah, you're
Not
right.
what's in your fields after during that year.
Well, that's why I interpreted
Yeah.
that we stored it beforehand.
No, but it means that it's like Adina, you say it's like a contradiction between the two verses.
Yes, there is a contradiction.
I think that the meaning of number 5 is not to do it as a regular agricultural work for sell it and all that. Just leave it, and then you could eat, and not only you, everyone will eat. Your slaves, your servants, your tenants, and even animals could eat from this, because it's not exactly like, of course, they harvest it if they want to eat it, but it's not harvest for
The owner.
yeah, for earning money for this.
Right. Well, in the commentary somewhere in the Hurt, it says something about that you can't take more than you need. Like, you can take as you need it.
Okay, and it's another way. Yeah, you can
Get what you need for the present.
exactly, because if you do take more than you need, you eat something, you eat part as you need, and then the rest you sell. So here you take only for your home needs, and you leave it for other people, for other animals, and and of course, these fruits are not do not grow after you work the land; they just grow.
Yeah, he also compares this to the double, well, I guess that's later on, but to manna, that you get the double portion on Friday, so that you will have food for Shabbat. But that's later on when
Yeah, the man.
they'll make.
Okay, so yeah, and
That's
more than that, yeah, they shouldn't. Actually, the land is, well, we will get to the other, what I wanted to show you. Anyone want to comment?
Yes, yeah, I have
Yeah.
some questions. Okay.
Mhm.
My question is, am I on? Yeah. So actually, I have some land in where I have grapevines, and I know that you have to prune the vines in February, so that that there will be more grapes on them. If you prune them in a certain way, so that they will be fruitful. But here it says, you shall neither sow the field nor prune the vineyard, which is fine. And then the grapes of thy undressed vine, undressed meaning unpruned, I'm assuming, you shall not gather. And then it says afterwards, you can have it for yours to eat. And so honestly, I find it confusing. It doesn't make any sense to me, actually. Excuse me.
What verse? What verse?
Okay, so in verse 4, it says at the last part of the sentence says, you should not prune your vineyard. And when you prune your vineyard, you're actually cutting the vines back so that they will produce more grapes, is what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so that makes sense. That's perfectly great. And then it says in verse 5, in the middle, the grapes of thy undressed vine you shall not gather. So undressed vine, it means the vine that you didn't prune, you're not allowed to gather them. But then in verse 6,
that's yeah.
And so it's a real contradiction, and I don't, and I mean, I actually live with this. I mean, it's actually part of my reality. And so I don't really know what they're saying here, the truth be told.
I think it's quite similar to what, or maybe as I understand it, what Adina said about this contradiction. So what we can understand from it, as I see it, is that you will not work the land, and what the land is, what grows on the land, you can take how much you need, and that's all. You cannot.
But it doesn't say that in verse 5 at all, and that's okay. I'd be very happy for that. That's great news for me. But in verse 5, that's not what it says.
Yes, you're right. In verse 5, it's not. Let's. You want to see what I think.
But you know what, Aura, for me, this is very relevant. I'm not sure it's relevant for the rest of the class.
That's okay.
Actually,
Yes, it is. It is.
Jeannie,
it is, and it's a very good question, and because obviously there is a contradiction. So what Adina read from her book. Adina, can you read again the commentary about the?
let me find it.
Okay.
I'm looking. Let's see, Sabbath produce. I'm not sure that I can find it.
Okay.
So what essentially said that the part about that you only take what you need right there.
Yes. Okay.
You know what? Do you know what it says? You know what it says in Rashi?
Yes, Rashi. Yeah, exactly what I wanted. Yes.
It says.
Just a minute, Adina, you want to say something?
The other interpretation that I thought of was that it's not okay to take what you grew in your field, but you can take things that grew wild. I thought of that as another possible interpretation.
Let's see what Rashi said.
I tell you what Rashi says here. During this year, okay, you may only gather produce that has been declared ownerless, without ownership. If you do not declare the produce of your fields and vineyards ownerless, you may not even reap the aftergrowth. You may not even reap the aftergrowth, whatever has grown on its own from the seed that fell to the ground during your previous year harvest. And you may not pick the grapes, but you have set aside for yourself, for this year must be a year of rest for the land with respect. So in other words, you have to transfer the ownership.
No, not yet. Not yet. We are not transfer. Not yet. We don't transfer the ownership. The land stays with its owner. But I also found that the word safiach here in Hebrew is what is translated in English, which grows of itself of the grains that fell on the floor, on the earth, and grows of itself. I didn't touch it. It's like in Shavuot and when in the book of Ruth, when people were harvesting, and then the poor people went behind and collect all what fell. So here, they don't collect, but they leave it to grow the next year, and without any working by the farmer. But you are right, Ginny, that it's not clearly said in 5. It's not clearly said. We have to understand according to the wording, to the end of the verse, Shnat Shabbaton, the year of solemn rest for the land. So this according to this, we have to understand that it means that we take only what grows naturally without any intervention by people.
So why does Rashi then say, following on this sentence, that if you change ownership, you may use the produce for yourself and your family and your servants and for everybody?
If you change
ownership.
Didn't I hear if the produce is declared unowned?
Yes.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's what Rashi says.
The produce, not
and
the
we
land.
do that in the Shemitah year. We sell the land to
I
others.
know you're stuck on that, Wendy. That's not what I'm saying. The produce is unowned. Isn't that what you said?
No, the land.
Okay. So what Rashi said, it's like you have to not to behave like you are the owner or the landlord of you have to not behave like this.
Yes.
But okay, maybe today they sell it, but
they do a ritual sale, like a Pesach with Sela Chomer.
Can. So according to what I read, they don't sell it, but they behave like they don't own it. They take, well, it's like Adina said before, they take whatever they need and that's it. And other people, strange people, people from tenants, even animals, can just come and pick up also whatever they need. So everybody collect the fruits without behaving like I'm the owner of this land. יוסי, יש לך איזה הערה?
No. It's very hard now, as a חקלאי, as agriculture employed, it's very, very hard.
Very hard.
Yes, because it's maybe a social law, because it's ensure for a lot of people to use the products and not selling each other, but it's very, very not understood law.
It's not obvious to say to
Yes.
do this.
Yeah.
But I think it's okay. You know what? Let's continue to the other law, and so we can look on both laws together. But I just want to see the Claire, would you like to read us about the term Shemitah and here?
Okay.
Can I just say, just as a little aside, that the beginning of Bahar is the first thing I ever read from the Torah.
What?
The first time I ever read Torah, it was Shabbat Mincha. It was 6 days before my daughter Ita was born. And I read the Shabbat Mincha reading, and it was Bahar. That's just a little.
So you have a strong connection to this verse, to these verses.
It was my first time when I learned to read Torah. It was the first time I ever read Torah.
Okay. Okay. So Claire, Claire, נכון? שלום אורית.
Okay.
Yes. Can you read here?
But the seventh year, thou shalt let it rest and lie fallow, that the poor of thy people may eat, and what they leave, the beasts of the field shall eat. In like manner that thou shalt deal with the vineyard and with the olive yard.
And please let me. I will read the Hebrew because it's with the word Shemitah, the root. והשביעית תשמטנה ונטשתה ואכלו אביוני עמך ויתרם תאכל חיית השדה. כן תעשה לכרמך לזיתך. And please go on here.
And this is the manner of the release. Every creditor shall release that which he hath lent unto his neighbor. He shall not exact it of his neighbor and his brother, because the Lord's release hath been proclaimed.
Okay, thank you. And I will read the Hebrew. וזה דבר השמיטה, here's the word itself. שמות כל בעל נשי ידו אשר ישב ברעהו, לא ייגש את רעהו ואת אחיו, כי קרא שמיטה לאדוני. Now, look at something very interesting. Until here, I mean, in Leviticus, what we read, and in Exodus, the Shemitah is about the agriculture, not working the land in the 7th year, right? Now, in Deuteronomy, the Shemitah is for money debtors. We have to give up all the loans that we gave to someone. I don't know, a few years ago, it was the Shnat Shemitah. I didn't see anything, any change in our bank account. The bank didn't cancel our...
this year is Shnat Shemitah.
עכשיו זה שנת שמיטה?
כן.
Okay. So, yeah. Okay.
Not anyone money in the 6th year.
Again, Adina,
No one would lend anybody any money in the 6th year.
Yes, exactly, and this is a problem. This is a big problem, and of course we have a verse that addresses that. But I'm sure that it was a problem. Yeah. Okay. What is the purpose of these social laws until now? The Shemitah in Leviticus, and we read in Exodus, and even so in Deuteronomy 15:4. Claire, can you go on also with this, and then we will.
Yep. Howbeit there shall be no needy among you, for the Lord will surely bless thee in the land which the Lord, the God, giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it.
Thank you. So the purpose is not to have poor people. Very, very, I mean, very wise. I'm not saying that it is with this we don't have poor people, unfortunately, but because the fact that the loans are canceled, and so the everybody are workers. They can, even if they don't have land, they work as workers and earn money. What do you think about that?
Or in another place there is written, לא יחדל אביון מקרב הארץ. This is לא,
רגע, אתה עברת
כן.
למיוט.
always it will be poor people. This is the world law. And this is interesting because is a social law that to make more פער חברתי, שיהיה קטן ולהקטין את פער החברתי, to reduce the gap between people,
with rich people and
the low people. It's very, very nice.
That's what I also think.
And if you think about it, trying to give rest to the land means nobody can work. They can't work if they're poor. They don't have savings to support themselves, but at least they can go onto the land and eat it.
Exactly. They can go there and eat it, and no one will charge them for. They don't have to buy it, and if they had loans, so it is supposed to be canceled.
Yeah, I mean, if they didn't do that, then giving the land the rest would be punishment to the poor people. And that sort of defeats the whole idea of everybody getting a rest.
No, it doesn't say here to the rest for the people.
No. But I'm saying that's the function of it, is that if you
They
only
don't
gave the
have work.
land the rest,
Yeah,
but
they don't
you
have
couldn't
work.
go there and eat it, you would
Yeah.
have no food.
Yeah, because they don't have work in agriculture. Maybe they can work. Yeah.
There weren't as many choices then. No high tech.
Yeah, yeah, but
Laura,
Maybe
Yeah.
this. Okay.
רגע,
I wanted to say one thing. I
Yes,
think it's
yes.
almost not 100% fair because it's an extra burden on the farmers. Why are they're being subjected to more of a burden? You're saying how it's so fair for the needy, but what about for the farmers who are supposedly supposed to leave their land fallow?
That's what Yossi said, that it's very hard for them. Yes, but
Right.
but exactly. But if you, I think it's
So
really
it's not 100% fair. Yeah.
Later on in the chapter, this is addressed.
what? Sorry.
In the chapter, this is addressed. It says you say, like, it talks about later on in the chapter, while you're wondering, what's going to happen if you can't work the land for this year. And God says, I'm going to give you a really good year in the 6th year, and you'll have enough food for 3 years. That's later on in the chapter. Spoiler alert, sorry.
I can't hear you very well. I don't know.
Well, it's a spoiler, but later on in the chapter, it talks about that how is this going to happen? How will you survive? And I will make your crops very plentiful in the 6th year.
Yeah, you're right.
The 7th year and the 8th year also.
The 6th year will be blessed. Yes. And well, you're right, Orit, about the not so fair, but this is exactly the thing of to reduce, as Yossi said, to limit or to even reduce a little bit the differences between rich people and poor people. And so rich people, okay, it's not fair, but they have they can manage this. better than the poor people. So yeah.
So it's different definitions of fair.
Kind of what?
It's different definitions of fair. If fair means everybody has the same opportunity to improve their situation, that's one kind of fair.
Exactly.
But if everybody has the opportunity to just survive, and those who are already well above that don't do so well, that's a different kind of fair.
Yes, absolutely. It's like it's like a tax, a higher tax for rich people and lower tax for poor people. So rich people would say, why do I have to? I work hard. I made money, so I don't want to pay more. Because this is why these are social laws. Laws of the.
It's also
Maybe because in if you look at in the all the society, it's healthier like this. In the long term and in the long term, it is healthier like this, that you will not have more and more poor people or and we will see it later, you will not have more and more slaves, because, and this is also mentioned in this chapter, because God said, you are not slaves, you are only my slave. You cannot be slaves of other people, because it's slaves for slaves. You are. So
it's also an ecological law, because by giving the land a rest every 7 years, it's replenishing so that the land is not depleted. On the same idea as crop rotation, where where you plant something different that's going to
yes,
so that it keeps the land healthy, so that it will keep producing, so that after the year of rest, then the soil will be healthier.
yes.
And more again, so it's very much like an environmental, ecological sort of law.
Yeah, so this is a benefit, an agricultural benefit. Yes.
Well, there's another question here, that the people who work in agriculture for the landowner, are they getting paid during that Shabbaton? I mean, today, for example, if teachers or doctors take a Shabbaton, they are paid. So what happened to the workers in agriculture during the year when they weren't allowed to work?
I don't believe that they were paid. It's not that social, but they had maybe savings, or they knew that they will not be paid 1 year, but they have also less expenses, because they don't have to buy the food. It's I don't think that they have. It's not a Shabbaton like today with teachers that go to Shabbaton and get the salaries.
We have to remember that those days, not those, the past, most of the people work in agriculture. There was farmers and
That's what they're showing. So it's hard.
I don't know how was practice not to
get salary,
to capture the
you didn't get salary, and you didn't get Abtala, because
and most of the people was farmers.
Yeah.
It doesn't say anything about whether food that you had stored from the 6th year. I mean, let me put that another way. It doesn't say that you can't sell the food that you had stored from the year before.
נכון.
And the point is to store up food from the year before, so that you have food. And what Wendy mentioned before about in Egypt, that Joseph interprets the dreams of Pharaoh and says, you're going to have 7 good years, and then you're going to have 7 bad years. And he said about building storehouses so they could store the grain from the good years, so that they would have them in the bad years. And they also sold to people who came from other countries where they hadn't been storing up the grain. And sold, that's the whole story of that we just finished reading in the Torah about all of Yaakov's children coming, except for Yosef who's in Egypt, but them coming to Egypt to buy grain because it was a famine in Canaan. So it's the same kind of thing where, if I'm going to bless the land in the 6th year and you're going to have plenty of food, then you can have it and you can distribute it, or you could sell it, or you could whatever. And so as long as you're not working the land in the 7th year, that doesn't mean that you can't have any food left over from before.
But you're talking about the owners, especially the owners.
Yeah, but may I say something very briefly? So working on the land is not a simple straight shot where you can just say, okay, this year is the year before the Shabbaton, so I'm going to put all my food away. I mean, working on the land where I work, Chazir Bar come and they destroy all the growth that you've had on your land. That's the year, that was this year, the year before the Shabbaton. And then there's no water because no water doesn't come. So all your small plants die and you can't get anything. So it's not something one can depend on and plan comfortably for and be sure it's going to work out. The farming is something that's very
very cool,
uncertain, independent, with lots of different elements that go into it that you have no control over.
Let alone the sickness of the plant sometimes.
There's the extra hitch of trying to sell stored food to people who can go out and get it for free.
If you have still in the
field. The field should have, because you were still working the field the year before, so it should be producing this year.
I think I agree with Jimmy that there are so many parameters here that we cannot, put it in a kind of okay, they will go to the field, there will be enough food for everybody will take only what they need. It's not that arranged and that, but it's maybe, again, it's the less worse than if you look for the long run, maybe it's the better for a better society, not to have many very poor people. I mean, it's not perfect at all. It is far from being perfect. Yes. Okay, let's move on. Crystal, would you like to read us the Shnat HaYuvel from 8 to 17? Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay.
And thou shalt number 7 Sabbaths of the years unto thee, 7 times 7 years, and there shall be unto thee the days of 7 Sabbaths of years, even 49 years. Then shalt thou make proclamation with the blast of the horn on the 10th day of the 7th month. In the day of atonement shall ye make proclamation with the horn throughout all your land. And ye shall hallow the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout the land unto all the inhabitants thereof. It shall be a jubilee unto you, and ye shall return every man unto his possession, and ye shall return every man unto his family. A jubilee shall that 50th year be unto you. Ye shall not sow, neither reap that which groweth of itself in it, nor gather the grapes of it in it of the undressed vines. For it is a jubilee, it shall be holy unto you. Ye shall eat the increase thereof out of the field. In this year of jubilee ye shall return every man unto his possession. And if thou sell aught unto thy neighbor, or buy of thy neighbor's hand, ye shall not wrong one another. According to the number of years after the Jubilee, thou shalt buy of thy neighbor, and according unto the number of years of the crops, he shall sell unto thee. According to the multitude of the years, thou shalt increase the price thereof, and according to the fewness of the years, thou shalt diminish the price of it. For the number of crops doth he sell unto thee. And ye shall not wrong one another, but thou shalt fear thy God, for I am the Lord your God.
Thank you. So I think all the problems that we said before, here we have it twice, because the 50th year comes right after a Shemitah, a year of Shemitah. So it is the 49th year and then the 50th. And it is 2 years on a row. Look at number 8. It's a very interesting way to how to put it. I mean, 7. Look how many times the word 7 here. Maybe it's 7. 7 Shabbat years. 7 times 7 years. 7 Shabbat. You understand what this verse means? You will count 7 times 7 years. This what the wording is a bit complicated also in Hebrew. 7 times 7
49
years until 49. Yes, until 49. And there is a big debate between the sages. Is the last year, the Yovel, is the 50 year or the 49? Although it is written here in 11, I don't understand why they debate, but in 11 it is very clear. The Jubilee shall that 50th year be unto you. Shnat HaChamish.
But there is a problem, because if you look back to where you get to the 49 years,
yeah,
then you shall sound the horn in the 7th month of that 49th year on the 10th day. So it's the second half of the 49th year.
Yeah.
And if it lasts for a year, then it's half in the 49th year, half in the 50th year.
Yeah. I think it refers to the 50 years. I mean, you get to the 49th, you finish the 49th, and then you proclaim that this year will be the Shnat HaYovel.
But you don't proclaim it until the 7th month of that year.
Yeah, but that's Rosh Hashanah. You're starting the year at Rosh Hashanah. And then you're having Yom Kippur, and on Yom Kippur, you're sounding the shofar.
Yeah, if you look at the year, if it really begins in Rosh Hashanah, but we know that it began in Nisan. You know what? Let's see what Rashi says here.
Like, this is talking about like the economic year. The economic year.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yes, I think that because Sukkot is the harvesting, right? Not harvesting. It's collection. No, because we say katzir.
Oh, it's harvesting. It's Chag HaAsif.
Chag HaAsif, but harvest is Katzir normally. And so never mind, but it's like the collection so you finish the year and then the winter and you start. Yeah, I think you count the years since Yom Kippur or Sukkot, things like that. According to the agricultural functions of what you have to do in the land.
That's the growing year.
Sorry, what?
It's the growing year. It's at the end of the growing year.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Then why
It's
refer to it as the 7th month if that's the beginning of the year?
Because it's the 7th month according to it's like January is the first month of the year, but according to the agriculture, it's not the first month. The first month, according to the agriculture, would be Tishrei or Cheshvan here.
So you're trying to say that Jews are a little confused. I understand.
Everybody else, the fiscal year starts at the end of September, right? End of the fiscal year.
I think it's
fiscal year starts in October. But the same reason, the school year starts in September.
You will not sow anything in your land in the beginning of the year in the sun, but you will start to work at your land and all the things that you have to do after Yom Kippur or Sukkot, after October. No?
Yeah, the Nisan is according to the Exodus.
Exactly. Nisan is it's not an agricultural beginning.
But
It's an historical beginning. Yeah.
But it has to do with the agricultural year. The agricultural year starts when you plant stuff in the spring.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it grows during the summer, and then you harvest it in the fall. And that's the agricultural year.
I think it's
That's the agricultural. That's the whole thing is agricultural, giving the land a rest, or all this stuff that has to do with agriculture.
Yeah, I think you are convinced, Gershon.
Yeah, well, so we're talking about it really from the point of view of our modern scientific mathematical approach to things, when it's really written in an agricultural culture where probably everybody understood exactly what was meant.
No, I think the distinction of what Adina said, agriculture and not in the historical view, is correct. יוסי, מה רצית להגיד?
שנת הספירה beginning in א' תשרי. This is the beginning of שנת שמיטה every year.
Okay. So
I don't know when it's when it's but it's א' תשרי.
Isn't it? Okay, probably
this is from Rabbi Google.
Read by Google. Okay, so there is a beautiful word that actually we have a few more minutes. So, and as I said, it's a big chapter. We will continue it next time. So before I wanted to say another point. Next time, in 2 weeks, we have Ma'agal Nashim. So since we got many times lately that we had to cancel, I suggest that we do next week another session. We will finish, hopefully we will finish this chapter, and then 2 weeks after it, and not on 30 December. Beseder? Okay for you?
I think so.
Sounds great. It sounds great.
Sounds great. Okay, great. Because I don't want to postpone it again in 3 weeks and on. So we will do next week and then 2 weeks later. Okay. So Ma?
I think it works for me.
Okay, Yofi. So what I wanted to say, look, there is really a beautiful word in Hebrew. I like this word very much. A draw. A draw is a high level of a high level language for the word freedom, chofesh, or
Liberty.
liberty, freedom. But you wouldn't say, I'm taking a day off from my work, I'm going to a draw. No, you wouldn't say that. אני לוקח חופש. You would say, I'm taking a חופש. Okay, חופש is more day to day, and draw is more, it's a beautiful word, and also it's a name of a little bird, and it's a name, it's a private name of you can give to a boy normally. Today I don't know, but normally it's a boy. So draw is liberty, as you know, and what I wanted to show you, Ken, in Jeremiah, he uses this word, I think. Ken. So who didn't, Adina, you didn't read, right? I think, who didn't read?
I did not.
Okay, Adina, would you like to read this, and with this we will end. Jeremiah 34 talks also about what we about this the issue of this chapter. So is this
right, and 12?
Sorry?
For the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, Thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, I made a covenant with your fathers in the day that I brought them forth out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage, saying, At the end of 7 years you shall let go every man his brother that is a Hebrew, that has been sold unto thee, and hath served thee 6 years. Thou shalt let him go free from thee. But your fathers hearkened not unto me, neither inclined their ear. And you were now turned and have done that which is right in mine eyes, in proclaiming liberty every man to his neighbor. And ye had made a covenant before me in the house whereon my name is called.
Okay, so actually also he talked about and he talked about also the sending after 7 years the slave. Well, there are the laws for Hebraic slaves are different in a few places in the Torah. So maybe next time we will do the comparison. We have laws in Vayikra and laws in Deuteronomy, and anyway, what he connects this issue to the covenant. I mean, the covenant with God is valid with the fulfillment of this law. I think it's very nice. I think it's nice. I mean, he connected it from not to have slaves in Israel. This is the whole purpose of this. Okay, anyway, I will stop sharing. Let's see where we go. Okay, so that's it for today.
Thank you very much.
And
Thank you. Very
Shabbat
good.
shalom.
Shabbat shalom, and Orit, Mazal Tov, and
Yes.
we will be happy to join you on Shabbat. She has a bar mitzvah to the grandson.
Yofi. Mazal tov.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Shabbat shalom.